Yeah, all good, man. How are you?
Doing doing good. A little California girl today, just chilling,
Is
watching a
it
bit of
is it hot out
NFL.
there?
Well, I
Is it
just
hot out
got
there?
back from desert heat. It was 115, so it feels cold right now, and it's 78 here today. So,
Not bad,
um,
not
not
bad.
bad, not bad. Basking in the heat and the heat of 6 points in the last
Well,
two
what do you
games.
say about that? What's your feelings about that? 6 points, so if you can't ask for no more, really. I
I
suppose you
mean,
could ask for performances, but 6 points is what we was after.
I think initially we got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah,
Before we can fly, we have to hover. So just to come out of those two games against teams that are as desperate as us to get off the mark, when you're at the bottom of the Premier League and you have 0 points and you're the Arsenal, you can't afford to lose to Norwich City, a second promoted team, because we lost to Brentford already, and then to Burnley, who we only got a point off last season. So it's always been a tough place for us to go. We've definitely got results there, but I think people muddle results with being bullied and getting tough matches at Turf Moor. So for me, it was the points for these two games, but now we've got to marry points with performance.
Yeah, I think you're right. And listen, it's a results business, right? We get that, and I've said this before. So when we start to get results, I can't be hypocritical and say that it doesn't matter because it does. But it would be nice to see some kind of where we're going in the future. And I think there's been glimpses of it of the last couple of games. I've seen some nice passing, I've seen some moving, I've seen some of the new signings coming in, which have been a positive, Soph. And I know me and you are kind of on the same wavelength and perhaps the same stance with Mikel Arteta. But have you seen anything in the last two games that has convinced you that perhaps he can turn this around? And obviously, as Lee said earlier, we're going into three massive games now against Spurs, Brighton, and I think it's Aston Villa. So, what's your thoughts?
Well, I think everyone talks about our defensive record from January, February onwards last year, right? They talk about that half season table where, we were improving at the back. And I think that, for us, the next step is to now change what we're doing going forward. You've got, if Gabriel has to stay fit, we see that now. Like if Gabriel isn't fit and you've got to call on a Mari or a Holding or someone like that, we're already weaker at the back. Gabriel kind of carried Ben White yesterday, but I don't want to kill Ben White. I think people forget that, being an expensive player does come with stress. We even saw players like Harry Maguire struggle at the beginning of his Man United career. 85 million, everyone was talking about a waste of money. Virgil van Dijk, everyone laughed at Liverpool for spending 72 million. And I'm not comparing the talent between the two, but Ben White is definitely a player who's going to evolve into his role. And you can't help what the British marketplace asks for transfer wise. He's 50 million. And I guarantee you guys, if Leicester had bought him for 50 million or if Tottenham had bought him for 50 million, everyone would have said, astute signing, a
Good
future
business.
England
Yeah.
defender, great business. But because we've fallen so far and we've become a bit of a laughing stock and a dartboard, people will throw those darts at us at any given chance and moment. Now, was he great yesterday? No. But at the same time, he still had some good moments.
yeah.
And part of a partnership, is it not that when your partner's not having a great game, you can pick them up? We've seen that a lot with partnerships over the years. So for me, I think that with Tomiyasu, with Gabriel, with White, Kieran Tierney needs to figure it out. I don't know what's happening with him. I don't know why he's regressed. Maybe he's tired. Maybe he continues to play with minor knocks that become a difficult thing for him to manage. I think we need to be careful of that. And Nuno can come on. You saw him come on hungry, shoot outside the box yesterday, take chances. So going forward, that's our Achilles heel right now. We had 29 chances against Norwich, you guys, and how many of those chances did we bury? That's the area we
Never.
need to work on.
That is very frustrating.
Couldn't
Before I
agree.
bring
Couldn't
Lee
agree
in, I
more.
just wanted to, just before I bring Lee in on a question, I just wanted to ask you about Saka because it's a player that I think everyone's talking about at the moment for perhaps the wrong reasons, whereas last season we were talking about him for the right reasons. I don't know where you stand on this one, Soph, but I have a little bit of sympathy for the lad because Saka and Smith Rowe, to be fair, should not be the ones we're relying on. they should be the kids that are learning. And at the moment, because our team hasn't been or up to standard or up to scratch, however you want to blame that on players individually or the manager or a bit of both, they should not be the ones that we're relying on. But we have been, and we're kind of expecting more from them now. Now, I think with Bukayo Saka, I was expecting more of him after that penalty miss at England. I don't know what your thoughts are. Perhaps maybe that's affected him. But at the moment, it's not really working for him. So what's your thoughts on this one?
I think he's been overplayed and over-relied on. Now, look at Phil Foden, right? He has God-given talent. He's an incredible player. But he has De Bruyne around him. He has Sterling. He has Mahrez. He had Aguero. He has Fernandinho. He has all of these experienced players. Unfortunately for the Arsenal, we've put our bricks on the shoulders of Saka and Emile Smith-Rowe. And eventually it becomes really heavy, dragging those bricks around. Because when you have an apathetic captain in Aubameyang, you have a leader in Lacazette who I think is much better with the younger players, to be honest with you, but isn't being given the game time. You have an example like Xhaka who goes in 2-footed against Chelsea, who's supposed to be this leader and doesn't exude it on the pitch. And then you're dealing with them having been around the Kolasinacs and the Ozils of the world and the Mustafis and the Sokratis. They've had to grow into men really quickly. And I fear for them. But at the same time, you guys, with the praise that they're given, they have to expect some criticism, because my biggest fear with Saka is that ever since he's joined the England team, and I say this with so much respect and I hope everyone will understand it, I don't want Saka to become the England mascot, being pictured on a unicorn, flying in the air over a pool. He is the future of Arsenal Football Club. And if Arsenal Football Club do the right things, Saka will be the nucleus of everything we do. He's the biggest talent we've had in years, a decade perhaps. And if we mismanage him, if we don't build around him, he's hanging out with these England players like Grealish and Maguire and Walker. They all talk. We could lose him in 2 years if we fail to build on him. But I don't want to enable him and mollycoddle him either. He's young, yes. But at some point, he needs to evolve into from boy to man playing for the Arsenal. His finishing is poor. His final ball has been poor. And I love him to death. And I'm not giving him a hard time here. I'm just saying, we need to be really careful how we treat him. And being part of that England setup, when you hear Luke Shaw talking about him, I think it's cute and I think it's adorable. But I don't want our star player to become a mascot for England. And he's been playing better for England than he has for the Arsenal.
So well said. Absolutely spot on. Lee, I'll bring you in on that point.
Yeah, listen, I said this yesterday and I'll say it again on here. Was Liam Brady a legend for Arsenal? Was he a great player?
Yes,
of course he was. He was a fantastic player, one of the best players ever to play for Arsenal. Go back and have a look at his performances. It's on now 95, the 1975 season on a Big Match Revisited. 18-year-old skinny kid struggling. Because, he's 18 years of age. He developed into one of the best players that Arsenal ever had. But at 18, he wasn't be able to do the things that he was when he was 24, 25, 26, and when he was like the top player. And that's the thing with Saka, he's just turned 20 years of age, and this is the thing that people don't realise, 20 years of age, a lot of people ain't even got into the first teams of their football clubs at this moment in time. He's an England international. He's being over-relied on. Let the boy play. Brilliant to bring it up about Foden. Foden, I think is a fantastic player. But ultimately, he's in and out of that Manchester City side. He's not the main player at Manchester City. Let's just get this right. Someone like Jack Grealish has gone to Manchester City now. He's not the main player at Manchester City at the moment. £100,000. He's being allowed to just develop into the player that he will become. And this is the thing that we've been a little bit too reliant on him. I totally agree with what Sophie's saying. When you're a good player and you're in that team and you're doing what you're doing, you will get criticism. But what I will say this is, he's a special talent, special talent. The best teenager I've seen play at the Arsenal since Jack Wilshere and Cesc Fabregas. Good company to be in.
Yeah,
but
they are good company. They are good company, and I'll bring this up, Sophie, and I'll bring you in on it just lastly, because those two players that Lee's just mentioned, Jack Wilshere and Cesc Fabregas, the difference for me there is Jack Wilshere had the Cesc Fabregases around him at the time and the Van Persies. But before that, when Van Persie and Fabregas were 16, 17, 18, they had Dennis Bergkamp, Patrick Vieira, Thierry Henry. Bukayo Saka is growing up with Granit Xhaka, Alex Lacazette, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. For me, Bellerin, those sort of players who were seen as the kind of senior heads and leaders at this club, I don't really want him to be learning off of those. So perhaps we need to be a little bit more realistic about his ceiling and how long it may take him to reach that ceiling.
And also the thing, look at Mason Greenwood at Man United, right? Had to take a step back. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer managed him really well, says he became a man over the summer. Now he's playing alongside Ronaldo. He's got Varane. He's got Cavani. Look at these players. You're talking about players who've played at the highest level of football. And we're expecting Saka to carry this Arsenal team. It's not fair. It's not right. It's uncool. And Adu made it public. He said the next stage is to sign world-class players. Well, you can't sign world-class players if you don't have European football. And they know it. We were always able to dangle European football, even if it was the Europa League, and signed Ober, Laka, Gabriel, Tierney, Pepe, Thomas Partey, because it was maybe a route back into Champions League football. But look at the profile of player we've signed this off-season, you guys. It shows you, right? We've taken some risks, but some of them are good calculated risks. Like Sambi Lokonga, 21 years old, captain of Anderlecht, played under Vincent Kompany, comes recommended by Thierry Henry. That's a good signing. Right? Ben White could potentially be a future England defender. Tomiyasu is a player that is so neat. He just does his job. And we need players like that. Just do your job. Keep it simple. Right? So I think to put all the burden on Saka, and I think he gets it a lot more than Emil Smith-Rowe. And here's why I was in favour of Jack Wilshere coming back. Not to play football, not to be on the pitch, but if there's anyone who understands Saka's position better than anyone, is Jack. Yeah. And we talked to Jack about this on the Highbury squad. And he loves the club. And I think that, when you see other clubs bring in mentors, bring in ex-players, that will help these young players. So I would rest Saka against Tottenham. I'd bring in Laka. I'd put Ober on the left. I'd have Pepe on the other side. I'd bring in Sambi. I'd play Odegaard. I'd play Thomas Partey. And I tell you, Arteta needs to be careful. I leave you guys on this point. If he starts Xhaka against Tottenham, he will lose a lot of love coupons that he's built over the last 2 games with some Arsenal fans. He's still trying to get a lot of Arsenal fans on side and believe in him, right? You cannot start that game with Xhaka. Absolutely not. 2 wins without him, all right? Show your muscle, show you have balls, and move this team on to the future. And I have a feeling that Xhaka might be sold in January, and that would be the right thing to do.
That's a great point. I'm still saying that Xhaka will play on in the North London derby. I will leave this on this point here. As bad as Saka played on, so it did one of his best game. He's still the one that created the free kick for the goal. So he's still, even if he ain't playing well, he's still. I'm backing him. And
he won a free kick, but also Pepe hasn't been playing well, and he was the reason why we were able to score against Norwich because of what he did on that side before it got to him. That's right.
I mean, so this is what I'm saying. But I will say these players, Pepe a little bit more so needs to step up because we've got to somewhere along the line get our front three firing, and if they're not going to fire, then there's other players that can come in, i.e. Martinelli, Lacazette, and who are we going to put in there? Probably Smith-Rowe.
I wouldn't play Smith-Rowe either. I wouldn't. I would rest Saka and Smith-Rowe and give them an opportunity to come off the bench and be super subs.
Did against Norwich. Yeah, I agree.
Give them a confidence moment, So, yeah.
That's
look, they're there for the taking, Dan. They're there for the taking, this lot down the road. They really are.
Oh, 100%. 100%. They really are. I saw them today and they looked absolutely dreadful. So it's a good time to play them. No excuses. And like Lee just said, we've actually got a fully fit squad or Rish to pick from now. So there's no more excuses for me. But I will say this, Soph, before you go. I think Granit Xhaka's coming back against Spurs. And I think he's going to play alongside Thomas Partey. And that is a bad decision as far as I'm concerned. Soph, before you do go, firstly, thanks for coming on. How can people follow you? And what have you got coming up on the Highbury squad?
Love you guys. Thanks for having me as always. You guys are smashing it. Keep up the great work. And David behind the scenes, you guys are smashing it. Absolutely love it. Thank you. And Highbury squad, tune in this week. We've got the Tuesday-ish club with David Hillier. Hopefully Ian Selly will be joining. We have Adam Catchell from Talksport. We've got Wednesday Women coming up. We've got Kevin Says. And a little bit of a surprise for the pre-game on Tottenham v Arsenal. So look out for that on Friday. So thank you very much. And check out our stuff at Highbury Squad on the YouTube channel.
That is a cliffhanger. That's a cliffhanger. Sophie, thank you so much, darling.
Thanks,
you take
guys.
It easy.
Love you guys.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Cheers, Soph. Oh, that's a little bit of a surprise leaving us like that, judges.
That's
bang out of order.
That's bang out of order doing that.
He's bang out of order.